Hello everybody, welcome back to today's video. Today I want to talk about a cryptocurrency here called Kaspa. I have been seeing a lot of people talking about this. They're essentially promoting it. You know, influencers are trying to pump their bags to, essentially just for all this sucker retail to come in here and, push up the price so they can offload. Now, this cryptocurrency, I don't know much about it and I don't even need to, know a lot about it. I'm just looking at the charts and I'm going to tell you what, the technical analysis or the charts are essentially showing. Now, I thought this was pretty interesting. You've got three upsloping trend lines here and they're all the same, essentially, the same angle, right? So if I was to move one up to the other one, they're essentially like parallel to each other, right? So this was the longest history I could find on the 𝗕𝗖𝗔𝗠𝗠𝗘𝗥𝗦 exchange, which is a pretty small cryptocurrency exchange, but nonetheless, it had the most history. So I wanted to go back as far as possible because this was launched during the 2022 bear market, right down near the lows essentially, and it has just been essentially outperforming. You were probably up, like 100x on this thing if you bought way back at the start. So way back here, you guys can see I've took all the pivot lows, and if you connect it through the lows here and then connect it through all the highs here where it acted as resistance, right, you could draw this trend line up, or you could draw the trend line down a little bit. So it just depends where you put that in there, but it's very interesting to see how it had 3 touch points as support before finally flipping into resistance, right? And it marked that significant top. Now, this channel here, I was just playing around with this one. It's the exact same angle, right? This trend line here is essentially the exact same angle, right? And you put it there and it matches up, right? So that also marked that top there as well. Now, the top that we've just put in today, and I'm gonna add some other things into it. I'm not just gonna use these trend lines, right, to take a short position in. Now, this is another trend line here, parallel to these others. You guys can see connected from the lows here when it had this 75% drop into that low, connected throughout all the lows here. As you guys can see, it's had over 1, 2, 3, 4 touch points before finally breaking under and then re-attacking it from underneath, right? And it can't even push through, so it can't get back above, right? Yes, it did make that high. It swept that high, right? But it only swept that high for one day and then it just reversed. That, to me, that's super bearish. You do not want to be holding this cryptocurrency. Now, another thing to add in here, guys, is this trend line on the RSI. You've got a massive bearish divergence, okay? So when you made this high here at about 4 cents, as you guys can see, this was the highest the RSI has ever been. And we're on the daily time frame, by the way, so you guys can go put all this stuff up on your charts as well. I'm not just making this up on the fly. This is all just technicals I'm showing you here. So you guys can connect it through the, around 23rd of July when we made this touch point right here. Now, this didn't make a higher high, right? You still had this wick here. But on this attempt here, when it got up above that 5 cent mark, you guys can see it not only, made that bearish divergence, right? So, even if I wasn't to connect this line back here, just right here, if you were to draw a line in right here, you made a bearish divergence, right? So you knew it was going to have some type of pullback. And then here, you made this high here, higher high, but it made a lower high, right? So even if I didn't have this long-term resistance trend line on that RSI there, that bearish divergence, you guys can also see even on the very small time frame, if we just take from this high to this high, and from this high down to this lower high, you guys can see that was also a bearish divergence, right? So I am expecting a pretty large pullback. Right now we're only down probably like 10-15% from this high right here. I'll just measure it just so you guys can see. We're down about 15%, right? So, it is a decent sized pullback. If you're using 10x leverage, you're up about like 150%, but I do think it's going to fall a lot more. So yes, even though you swept this high here, it got essentially the last bulls and the bears. So the bears got stopped out, right? Because they would have put their stops right there at that level. And then the bulls, they would have put, long positions in right above that break there. So they went long right? And then all of a sudden it reversed the next day. The bears also got, you know, stopped out of their shorts. So, you know, it's, you know, essentially all these you know, where you can go long and short with leverage, they make the money, right? They're like the casino, you know, they know where everyone's positions are. So as a trader, you just want to be careful of all these things. You know, if you've got stops, they're probably going to push above, right? So, you know, they don't have to pay out the people that are going short because now it's down 15%, right? So it's just things to keep an eye out for. I just thought this chart was very, very interesting. Now, one could say, oh, where could it find some support, right? So you have this massive, just look at this, guys. Look at this right here. You've got a massive supply-demand zone down there. And, you know, that's below 1 cent, right? So that is your big supply-demand zone for Kaspa. Now, you do have these other supply zones right around here. We're talking about 2.5 cents. That's a pretty big one. And then this massive slice down here, as you guys can see, if I was just to draw this trend line in here, we'll just go across here, right, somewhere through here. That to me, that looks like some solid support. You've had multiple points of resistance before finally, you know, acting as support. So we could catch a bounce down at around 1.5 cent. So, you know, like it's a pretty large fall. You know, in the short term, you'd want to watch for a break right around this level right here. I'll just grab the horizontal ray. So somewhere right through here, probably acted as support, resistance, support, and acted as support once before we had this higher, you know, higher high. So just things to keep, you know, an eye on. You know, if you were to go short now, your risk reward ratio isn't as good as if you got in way up here. You know, once it pierced, excuse me, once it pierced that higher high. So I just see a lot of people talking about this cryptocurrency, and, you know, I don't want anyone to be fooled. You know, don't get delusional by all these influencers saying, buy Kaspa, it's gonna fucking go to the moon. Just take a step back, look at the chart. You know, it was overbought just like 4 days ago. So you just want to keep a thing out, you know, watch the RSI. It's got a bearish divergence. It's going to play out. It's always had very large pullbacks, right? So from this bearish divergence here, it fell how much percent right here? It fell about 37% right down to that low. And this one here, this one was the largest drawdown, about 75%. And then you also had drawdowns down here as well. This is probably around, you know, 50% fall or so. Yeah, 57%. So just keep, you know, I don't want anyone going long right here. The charts are showing, you know, you want to sell into the strength, right? So just please do not go long at these highs here. I think it's going to wreck a lot of people. I've made many videos like this before, you know, with Trust Wallet token right at the all-time high. I remember it was the only coin pumping during the bear market, and then all of a sudden within 5 days it fell 50%, and I caught that entire move on 12.5x leverage. And, you know, I'm even warning people about the Binance coin. It was up around $357. It's now trading at like $210, and it's looking like it could have, you know, essentially a rug pull type moment. Because if it loses this $200 level, it is essentially, you know, game over. Could fall down all the way down to $50 very quickly, because I've shown you that 3-bar surge on the weekly. So just please keep an eye out. This coin, it is pretty new. I'm seeing a lot of influencers talking about it, and, you know, I just get skeptical. I look at the chart, you know, it's just things to keep an eye out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I haven't made a crypto video in quite some time, and I thought I would just do this one, as I'm seeing, you know, this video might get a bit of flank. You know, it could potentially even make a higher high, but you just want to watch for that thing. Is it going to pierce above like this just for 1 day, and then the next day it reverses that entire move? So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys all in the very next YouTube video. 𝗕𝗪𝗧𝗧 out. Peace.